Hey, hi, hope all is well. Welcome back to the channel. So in today's video, I'm going to talk about the differences and the composition of interview rounds, specifically at the top three consulting firms, which is McKinsey, Bain, and BCG. And I'll talk about it from the vantage point and the lens of a business school student because I interviewed for a couple of these firms as part of the placements process at ISB, Indian School of Business. So, and why am I making this video? Because a lot of working professionals reach out and they end up asking me, okay, I am a consulting aspirant and I want to go to a business school to get into consulting. But once I am sitting in my placements, what kind of preparation should I do? What can I expect? How many rounds are there? How do they evaluate you? So I'll answer all of that in this video and let's get started. So firstly, let's talk about McKinsey. McKinsey is typically one of the first recruiters on account of its prestige on any campus that it visits throughout the country. And let me take an example. Let's say McKinsey comes to ISB with a pre-placement talk in September mid, and they start inviting applications for typically their junior associate role. By October, they take a couple of weeks to shortlist, and then they get back to you with a shortlist by October mid, for example, or October third week. And then they give you broadly 35 to 40 days from the shortlisting announcement to the actual interview day to prepare for case interviews and guesstimates, right? And McKinsey interviews don't involve a lot of questions on your CV. I mean, you can get questions as part of the typical first 5 minutes of your conversation, which is, hi Sarthak, okay, you've talked about reading in your CV as a hobby. What kind of books do you like to read? What was the last book that you read? What was the most memorable maxim from that book that stayed with you? And if I recount my McKinsey interview, it was very similar. I talked about a couple of my hobbies, my previous work for the first 5 minutes, and then I was given a guesstimate, right? So McKinsey follows a yes/no system, which means that every candidate who's shortlisted will typically have two interviews, one-on-one interview, one-on-one conversation, typically for 25-30 minutes with a partner or an engagement manager. And in that conversation, after that conversation, they typically give a yes or a no on your candidature, which includes your problem solving skills, your communication skills, and your quick maths. And if it's a yes and a yes, then you get through. If it's a no and a no, then you're out. If it's a yes and a no after the two conversations, then you're supposed to have a third conversation with another McKinsey partner, which becomes the third round, which becomes the make or break for you, right? Now, I could not get through McKinsey, but I got through BCG off campus. So I'll talk about BCG now. So BCG has 4 rounds of interviews. The first two are taken by a principal, and in the first 2 rounds, they can either ask you a guesstimate in the first conversation, followed by a quick case in a second conversation, one-on-one conversation with different principals. And after those 2 rounds, they assign a score to you. They'll give you a score out of 10, let's say, on your critical thinking skills, your quant skills, and your quick maths as well as communication. And let's say the first principal gives you a score, the second principal gives you a score. After they combine the 2 scores, if the total score is above what they had in mind as the necessary score to have for the firm to spend more time on you as a candidate, then they'll invite you for the last 2 rounds of the conversation. So if, let's say, they had a threshold or a benchmark of 65 or 100, and if I score a 67, then they'll invite me for a couple of more conversations. In the last 2 conversations, it's typically a stress test. For example, the partner might give you a case that your client is razor pay and they're having declining profits. as a payment gateway platform, and you have been hired to figure out what to do and how to resolve this problem. And I don't want you to solve this case. I only want you to ask me 5 clarifying questions that will help me solve this case. And you have 2 minutes to ask these questions. So they can do these mini cases with you, and they can make it a stress test, because they'll put a time limit against your thinking capacity and thinking horizons. And after the last 2 rounds, then they again weight your scores, and if it breaches the benchmark and the threshold, and then you're given the offer. So BCG has 2 rounds, then after that elimination or acceptance for the last 2 rounds, then again 2 rounds, and then the final results. Now when it comes to Bain, Bain has 2 rounds of interviews, and Bain typically has, once again, a scorecard system where they give you marks or grades on 3 dimensions, which is maths, communication, and problem solving. And if by the end of 2 rounds your score breaches the threshold that they had in mind, then you get through, right? So BCG out of the 3 firms is the most grueling one in terms of the number of rounds and the difficulty as well. Some slight differences would be McKinsey interviews are interviewer led. The interviewer will guide you on what to solve and how to solve it. BCG and Bain interviews are more interviewee led. You decide which direction to take in a guesstimate or a case, right? So I hope this helps you, and I'll see you very soon.